Thanks, listeners, for joining us for today's Elko Live program. We're sitting down in advance of Friday's broadcast with our Elko County Clerk. We're so pleased to have Rebecca Plunkett in studio alongside Elko County Commissioner John Karr. We're going to be talking about the events leading up to the election, some community concerns, and we're also going to invite the public to become part of the process, obviously, as there's a candidate forum coming up on Wednesday, May 22nd at the Elko Convention Center, hosted by the Elko Area Chamber Government Affairs Committee, in which more issues will be talked about in both the county clerk's race as well as two separate races for a county commission. So, John, I'll start with you because you're not, you got a free pass to the county commission. You didn't have to run this year.
Yeah, I don't know if nobody wants the job or I'm doing such a great job. I doubt either one. But either way, yes, no, I'm running unopposed. So Elko's with me another 4 years. So
that's fantastic. And it also, makes you eligible to talk about all these issues because you've been involved in these voting concerns from early on. So we should talk about that. And then we'll fold Becky into the conversation, our county clerk, talking about her experience, talking about all these opportunities for people to validate for themselves, how the election process works locally.
Oh, absolutely. And even though I'm 100% backing Becky and cheerleading and think she's doing fantastic, that's not why I'm here. It's more of, as a commissioner, they brought up some points during the Trump election and 2 years ago, not so much 2 years ago, but still the voter concerns were out there. So as I've said on this before, all right. So I went, it was Chris Shakeman back then, but Becky was still there and worked with her and going, I want to be involved in every single aspect of this. So as soon as they got mailed, to how you pick that up, to the group of volunteers that were then sorting out the mail-in ballots and how it all went. And that's why I've said on this repeatedly, you would have to have 10 to 15 to 20 people 100% corrupt on trying to swing a vote or something. And we all know, can you really keep 20 people's mouths shut? I can't. I mean, isn't that the rule? You can trust two people as long as one's in the grave or whatever that silly phrase. So there's no way these 20 people can corrupt and do the Elko election. I mean, we might, if we studied every single ballot, might find one that was written by somebody else that shouldn't have been or whatever. But 99.5% or more, or even higher in my mind, Elko County is at. But that's why I went and reviewed it. They brought up concerns, so I went and saw every part of it. The only part I didn't see is Dominion actually downloading it on the ballot itself on the machine. But then I was then part of, even if they were corrupting, the bad Dominion people, that's why I was part of the audit. So, no, the audit was perfect. I was there. I took part in it, spent all 6-8 hours, whatever that lovely day was, of meticulously counting back and forth. And people are not meticulous. That's 100% the problem. As much as this paper ballot hand counting wants to happen, we're just not meticulous creatures. We start moseying off the path, I guess you would say. I know I don't have it's not the brain power is the wrong word, but the focus to 100% nonstop, 10,000 ballots. I just don't. And we were the first done, and it wasn't, I don't even remember what Allie and I had, but either one, it was a machine that was used a lot and finished that up. But no, it's a very meticulous thing, and people aren't meticulous. That's why we have computers.
Right. Voting machines are certainly, they are the subject of this controversy, not just in Elko County, statewide and nationwide. President Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump in Nevada by more than 33,000 votes in the 2020 election. However, Trump and many Republicans spent the post-election period promoting some pretty fantastical claims, again, about this kind of fraud and how it could be accomplished. Basically unfounded claims claiming mass voter fraud in Nevada and other swing states. It just didn't pan out. The move to mail-in ballot options fueled a lot of conspiracy. But again, and we'll talk with our county clerk, there is no evidence of fraud related to either mail-in voting. It's rare on the occasion or the instances that it's investigated. And there is simply no evidence to support the belief that mail-in voting has caused widespread voter fraud in Nevada. No evidentiary support that widespread voter fraud occurred in the 2020 election. That's according to Nevada's former Secretary of State, who is a Republican. So people want to draw partisan lines around this issue, John. It's almost as though we've been over this so many times. It's exhausting. And this group or these individuals, they've not presented any proof whatsoever.
Well, everything they've sent me was, especially the pillow guy video, that it's borderline comical to me, but I watched it. I was open and watched it fairly, but everything was, he supposedly bought these machines and proved they could be hacked. Well, if I have that machine in me and I can totally take it apart and well, that's not what's happened, though. They didn't have the machine. They didn't have access to the machines. That's why we have checks and balances. That's part of what I went and watched. This is how they check. This is how they double check. That's the facts that I went and witnessed myself. So maybe in Georgia it happened. I doubt it, but maybe it did. What does that have to do with us? I can't change Georgia. I'm not in charge of Georgia. And it was a hypothetical. It could be hacked. Not one thing I ever read that this was proven to have been hacked, ever. And then the paper ballots, I get really tired of because this group is pushing falsehoods that Nye County went to paper ballots. What they did is they had the one that's mailed to you, have the option that you could fill that out right there instead of the Dominion machine. I'm assuming they're using Dominion.
And you can still do that here, yes.
And they take that and still goes through a Dominion counting machine to finally count.
It's being scanned.
So in theory, the one that you walk up to is totally corrupt and AI, and it can change your vote and everything. But the one that reads it can't.
Right, the scanned ballot. So, John, and so we can get into it too with Becky and let her explain the actual process, the actual safeguards, and the duties of her office. The other many multiple functions of the Elko County Clerk's office, of which a person has to be a trusted person in the community to perform these duties, John. But here's another issue that's come up. We're talking with John Karr, a county commissioner, and you're a member of the Elko County Republican Central Committee, the GOP. So they adopted their resolutions, I guess their planks recently, and among them was a preference to have hand-counted ballots. Now, this is generating controversy in the GOP, and well, whether you look at it fortunately or unfortunately, it gives some credibility to these claims.
It does, and I've already heard people, because we voted as a commission to research what it would take. Now, that's where I get a little emotional about, because that's assuming I'm for paper ballots. That's not even remotely what I voted for. I voted for open-minded to say, okay, I will watch you and listen to you guys. Show me if it's possible. My wonderful clerk over here will get the old ballots printed and do it according to law, and let's do a demo run. Let's try it out. That's what I agreed to. That's now been kind of stalled and postponed and whatever, and I guess it's coming up in the next few days. But extremely small compared to, I said, here, let's print 1,000, 2,000 ballots. Gather your group. Come on, let's do it. That's not me sabotaging it. That's me being open-minded and show you what it takes. And no, they all backed out, and none of them want to be there.
So we're not having
We are having
trial?
a very, very small one, not the 2,000 that I said, let's do this. Let's print them. Gather your whole group.
Because the reality is you would need a couple
6,000 to 8,000 is actually what elections are, probably.
Yes.
Okay. And then so how many individuals, I guess, you would need to count those?
Well, that's why I said let's do 2,000.
Yep.
And I don't know, 30 people, 50 people, 80 people. Let's try this. And then we 100% know. It'll be all recorded. We can go, here, it's what it takes. Mm-hmm. And no, it's now a much, much smaller test run.
Okay. So Becky Plunkett is our Elko County clerk, and John, I'm sure we can come back to you, but Becky, giving you the floor. You have been with the Elko County clerk's office for some time. You are experienced. You were a deputy clerk and served with Chris Jakeman. Would you mind kind of just telling us about your experience and your qualifications to start with?
Absolutely. I started in 2013 in the election department. So I started before even these new Dominion machines became part of the county clerk's office. Mm-hmm. Before that, I worked for Nevada Highway Patrol as a dispatcher, and then I was a supervisor at that time. But I've been in the clerk's office since 2013.
All right, and you have a lot of experience in again, we'll talk about the role of the clerk's office, but you're also someone who has a lot of integrity, a lot of trust in this community, and we know what it feels like when someone isn't, right?
Yes, exactly, yes.
Yes, so again, having a background with the Nevada Highway Patrol, serving in a position of dispatcher. So what is the role of the county clerk? There are so many different divisions within this department, right, Becky?
That is correct. So the county clerk is the clerk of the court. It is also part of the election department. And the clerk's office also handles marriage license. We also do dog tags. We also do notaries. We also do marriage license, officiants, applications, as well, and then all the clerk court functions. We do all the district court functions, which is filing documents for district court, which have to do felony gross misdemeanors, divorces, custody cases, all civil cases over $15,000 at least. We also do the minutes for the commissioners' meetings and other boards as well, the E911 minutes, board meetings, LEPC meetings, all the other different kind of meetings the county has.
So basically what you're explaining too is that you and your staff, I mean, you have access to endless records throughout this county and from neighboring counties as well. So you and your staff have endless access to all kinds of both private and public records, Becky. I mean, there's a huge amount of trust that goes into this position.
That is correct, yes.
So you want somebody that you trust.
For this position, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But managing also 13 people, it's not easy managing people. That's a whole different ballgame.
So again, the Elko County Clerk's position, overseeing all these different departments and divisions, and it is, by statute. You also comply with Nevada, state, and some federal laws. That's very evident.
That is correct. Most of the office is run by statute or federal laws. A lot of the federal laws have to do with elections, but yes.
Okay. So, Becky, do you want to walk us through what this trial, now by the time this program airs, we're sitting down on Tuesday, but this is going to be broadcast on Friday. So we want to accommodate, the schedule, but you're going to have this trial run kind of behind you. And what do you anticipate it's going to look like? On Thursday, you're going to count some ballots? The demo, yeah.
Yes. So Thursday, we're going to have a 4-man team, and we're going to be hand counting the ballots. So I printed out 100 ballots. They are from the 2022 general election. They are legal size and double-sided. And then we also have the tallies is for that. And so there's specific guidelines, regulations the Secretary of State's office has to count those ballots. It is like a 14-page document is what that one is. So as well as the election manual that we're going to have to go through before we start this hand count.
Well, you have to have volunteers who also trained
Correct.
and prep for this. And we have generations of volunteers, people who have been doing this. And frankly, some of them are disenfranchised because they don't like the animosity and the conspiracy and the distrust that's been going on with this.
That is correct. Yeah, it's going to be, we normally have our normal poll workers that are going to be at the polls, but this one's going to be a group that Rex got a hold of. And so.
Commissioner Staninger.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
Okay. So you and Commissioner Karr, Commissioner Staninger don't quite see eye to eye, or do you think Rex is doing his due diligence in exploring this?
No. I think in this case, the only thing we're not seeing eye to eye is I just go full bore. I wanted the full 2,000 and let's do this. And he's wanting a slower approach to see how it is. But no, we're both open-minded on, okay, let's see what it takes. I just wanted to go Mach 10 and he wants to go a little bit slower. But no, he's open-minded and wants to quell the misconceptions and for those that don't believe the elections are fair. No, that's why he's doing it. He's open-minded about it as well.
Okay. So has there been any investigation, Becky, in Elko County about any kind of interference or malfeasance within the Elko County election process?
No, there has not, that I'm aware of. If there's anything that what we do is we contact the Secretary of State's office, and they have a full election investigation team.
I mean, that seems typical. We have people who insist that there are issues and problems, and they perpetuate this, and then they fail to provide any actual evidence or anything that the clerk's office or the state can investigate.
That is correct, yeah. If there's any problems, we would just contact our office, and then we can investigate it and send it up to the Secretary of State's office where they can investigate it as well.
So for both John, Karr, and Becky Plunkett, we do know there was a recent county commission meeting. I think it was in maybe March or April, but there were several folks who appeared on behalf of this committee that they formed. They have a distrust of the election process, and they were saying that numbers don't match. And Becky, can you lend any support to what was concerning to them? What were they talking about?
I think the numbers that they were talking about was they're not understanding how the reports maybe are being read or from the Secretary of State's office compared to what we have. I got a list from one of the people that are concerned, and I gave her the information that this is what we have and this is what it shows. So I'm not sure what the Secretary of State's website where you got that information, and then she never got back to me. So it was one of those, is like I was trying to help her out to figure out what was going on, but I never heard anything back from her. So
Right.
There was some confusion on when Becky would report, which is totally different than elections, but it still has election group that says, okay, we had a ballot get sent to you, Lori, and it said that you sent it back. That just had to be with how the categories were at for that information database to go back to the state. But that was never a compromise on you voting or not
Nobody
voting.
actually used it to vote.
No, it just has to do with
No.
their website to say that, okay, ballots were sent out and received a ballot, and then the mistake was that it got received back because it was just in the wrong, basically, spreadsheet on the database. And
Right. It was just a literal accounting. So, I mean, we do know this too. We've heard from the Nevada Secretary of State's office, and they've been very transparent on this the whole time. There is a project that we were hoping to have rolled out, but now it won't be until July, but it will be in time for the general election. And this project would unify what is now a fragmented system. We have 17 individual counties in Nevada, all of them maintaining unique records, unique accounting systems, and then trying to compile those and report them to the state, and doing it in a manner that uses technology so that it's timely and accurate.
that is correct. That the VREMS project is going to be going live July 31st. It is a top-down voter registration system. So what happens is all the counties will be on one system. So we're going to be able to see who is registered in Washoe County and Clark County if they come to our office or come to voting. So we'll be say, hey, you are registered here. Do you want to, to come up and change your registration? So it's going to be a really nice system once it gets going live. We've been doing mock elections and really working hard and trying to get the system right. All the counties have.
Right. All the counties, all the county clerks, all the top election officials in Nevada, they are unanimous in this.
Yes.
Let's just get that out there, too. Right now, Nevada is only one of 6 states with a bottom-up voter registration system, but we're going to fix that. That's going to be fixed.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
And also, Clark County is using the new system as of now. They were the first trial run of it, and they're doing pretty good with it.
So talking with our county clerk, Becky Plunkett, and not to get into a current lawsuit because I think there's something before the court, Becky, but there was an issue generated, Becky, about inactive voter rolls and how this made us vulnerable. Can you talk about that too?
Okay, so when our voter rolls, you have your active list and your inactive list. The active list, of course, people have voted probably every 2 years like they normally do. So inactive voters are usually probably vote every 4 years, around a presidential election. And so inactive voters usually, if we don't hear from them for a while, they become inactive from a mailing that we sent out or anything like that. So, but they're still able to vote in the election. Just because they're inactive doesn't mean they're not eligible to vote. And we have the federal law, the NVRA law from the Federal Election Commission, rules our voter rolls. Can't just cancel somebody just because we want to cancel them.
It's not a local issue. It's based on an actual federal law.
Exactly, yes. And usually when we do that, most of the time we'll send them a letter out to them and asking, hey, we noticed that you've moved. It could be a notice from the post office or a notice from somebody else and say, so we send them a letter, and if they send something back, we can cancel them or keep them on the records. But we don't cancel just because somebody says they're not there anymore.
Going back to John Karr, County Commissioner, and again, county government seats are partisan seats, so it's safe to say we're talking to a Republican here, John, and again, running unopposed for another 4 years on the County Commission. Why does there seem to be such an effort to discourage people from being registered or voting by mail? Or
It's become a political issue in my mind a little bit. Well, these are my beliefs. During COVID and all that, and them changing to mail out ballots and all that was when we were quasi lockdown and everything, and it does benefit usually Democrat voters, and these are vague overall statements. So in theory, Republicans are more loners, more independent, more on their own, and Democrats are usually kind of in the group setting. Once again, these are vague, whatever. So those that don't vote and they need the help and they need the handouts or whatever, so that help to get them to vote And so that way then they could vote, and they usually vote Democrat, and so that's why it became a partisan issue. Once again, those are extremely vague. I'm very well aware of how that sounds.
It's part of the urban legend, right?
But
right.
it is. And why it looked so bad and how they, during the COVID shutdowns of where we need to do, and all of a sudden, paper ballot or mail-in ballots are what's wrong.
The harvesting of ballots,
and
that kind
harvesting
of thing.
all that.
Okay.
So that's where that all came from. Those are all legal, but the Democrats are 10 times better about it is also the other problem. Republicans don't gather in groups and then go, hey, go make sure everybody in this area, I don't know, White Rock, I don't know, wherever geographic you want to, go door to door and say, hey, did you guys able to vote? Do you guys need any help voting? You know that?
I see what you're saying.
That's 100% legal, and the Democrats do it and the Republicans don't.
Okay.
So the Republicans get their butt kicked and then complain that the Democrats kick their butt. That's what happens.
But you guys have a caucus.
I know, but that still happened in Vegas. It was truckloads and busloads of here. Do you have problems going to the polls here? Then we'll help you. And they have buses available and whatever. Or even at all the casinos here, you could take your hour break and actually go vote. And they had buses ready for them to go vote. And they'd go run to the polling place and go vote. They did that. That's, once again, not illegal. They were registered voters. Well, I'm assuming I wasn't there, but they're registered voters that went and voted. And if you have all these Democrats helping you to go vote, chances are you're probably going to vote that way. I don't 100% going to claim to this day that the gal loading people on the bus was saying, hey, vote Sisolak or vote Biden or vote whoever. I'm not claiming that. But that would be your natural instinct of who's helping me go vote.
So a lot of this, it seems like, is just distrust. People not trusting each other anymore. And that's kind of the crux of it, isn't it, John? It's kind of sad.
Well, that's also that darn ref is why I lost the game. No, that's not why you lost. Maybe one call was bad. That didn't mean that whole game you lost. So now it's, in my mind, they're the poor losers of the ref. It was the darn ref's fault.
All right.
That's my opinion. That's not all the Republicans, but that's my opinion.
Well, John, thank you, because again, we're very well aware that in our community that some of these issues have really split the Republican Party, and that's obviously not something that's unique to Elko. It's
and let me interrupt real quick.
Please.
That's also why we lose. That splits the Republican Party. We can't get along. We don't. And the Democrats
are also split.
In theory, except for lately, they seem to finally be the Palestine, all these other things. But normally, they're a little more lockstep of what they agree on. And once again, those are vague statements. But you could probably do a pretty good study that the Democrats agree more times than Republicans do.
All right. Well, let's ask Becky. Let's look at the numbers. There are, according to the latest report that I think this first quarter, there were 1.9 million active registered voters in Nevada. So 1.9, getting close to almost 2 million. And the majority of these, so Democrats are slightly ahead of Republicans, just for anybody keeping score. It's 28% Republicans, 30% Dems, but 33%, Becky, are nonpartisans.
Our office is very nonpartisan. We can't, deviate from anything else. I just know automatic voter registration maybe has a lot to do with it, because if you don't choose a party when you're registering at DMV, you become nonpartisan automatically until we send them a letter saying, sure, you want to be nonpartisan because you didn't pick a party. So that could be part of it.
Mm-hmm. That sounds reasonable.
It's a reasonable thing. And that's where I think it might be.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as Elko County, we still have predominant Republicans. Mm-hmm. It's about 3-1, right?
That's correct, yes.
Yes. So, but obviously we have our nonpartisans, Independent American Party, Libertarians, plenty of other choices. But is that, I guess to your recollection, is a nonpartisan, is that creeping up at all, or do we have...
No, it's about the same. It hasn't really changed much.
Okay.
It's mostly Republican here in Elko County.
Well, if you look at a national map, it would shock you if they do those little color maps of here's your little whatever. It's the urban areas that are mostly the Democrat, and it's the rurals that are the Republican side or more independent. But as for more independence, well, you can see why our election of our presidents right now, or the candidates, of why you'd want to be almost nonpartisan. You could easily hate both.
That's already very deeply polarizing between the two, as you suggested, and then also then there's that middle category of people who just can't palate either one. So
well, let's just hope they reasonably vote. Come out, make a choice. Don't just sit at home.
So Becky, I want to make sure we're getting to all your topics today, because we do have we gotten to a lot of what you were hoping to talk about?
Well, I wasn't sure, so I just brought some
Some talking
dates,
points.
some
Okay.
talking points. Yeah, I just brought some dates is all I brought.
Well,
so.
and you are welcome to do that. We know there is a candidate forum coming up, so you can see Becky in action, and she will be featured during the forum, as will 2 county commission seats. They're both, there are incumbents. Oh, no, Wildy is retiring, so his seat will be filled, vacancy there, and then Rex Denninger is being challenged by someone who has some pretty strong opinions about some of the things we're talking about here today. So,
We'll see if that individual shows up at the candidate forum.
right.
That is still, from what I've heard, up for debate whether that individual is going to show up or not.
And that's always something to ask yourself. If you're looking for change, then at least look for a voter who, or I'm sorry, look for a candidate who's, willing to talk about the issues and is knowledgeable and accessible. And
our office is pretty transparent. So if you have any questions, contact our office about anything that had to do with not just elections, everything else with the courts and stuff like that.
candidate forum again is Wednesday, May 22nd, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Elko Convention Center. And we'll be, of course, talking more about that and reminding local voters' responsibilities, right, as they go forward. Any other timelines, so people can still register to vote, right, Becky?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. You can still update your voter registration information online between May 15th and the May 28th, which is same-day registration as well. We are doing early voting that starts May 25th through June 7th at the library for Elko. We're also doing early voting up in Owyhee. There's like 3 days and then a Saturday. And then we're doing early voting as well on the Elko Indian Colony on the 2 Wednesdays. And then election day, yeah. And everybody should have received their ballots and then their sample ballots. If not, contact our office as well.
And election day is Tuesday,
June 11th.
Tuesday, June 11th is election day. There are all these opportunities to register to vote early, to vote by mail. And there are, how many races are going to be decided, Becky, on the primary? Because some people skip out primaries, right?
Right. Well, it's by party. So we have the Democrat ballot, the Republican ballot, and the nonpartisan ballot. So there's quite a few on there regarding even the state offices as well as a couple of federal ones. So.
And there's traditionally low turnout, which I think, John, that's what you alluded to. You're concerned about people, not enough people coming out and saying, what? That's the person that happened with the sheriff's race, happened with the commission race, I believe, in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, with when Delmo first got on, there was quite the hubbub about not going to then the general election in November. But no, the state legislature had passed, if you get 51% of the vote and on your primary and you're the only candidate, if there's not a Democrat or a independent, then no, you won. And that's a state law. Once again, if we don't like the state law, we don't get to say, now let's not follow it. You have to put in some assemblymen or some senators and change it. That's how it works.
That's how government works, right? How elected office. Okay.
So if we don't like the mail ballots, we don't like whatever, sorry, we need to start having candidates that can change the state legislature.
John, did we get to all your topics today? I think we did with Becky, right?
The only thing is, I hope at the candidates forum, I hope we hold the candidates accountable for very direct answers. I just have a personal pet peeve of vagueness, and that's all politicians throughout the states of whatever. I laugh at this miscongeniality, that movie, and world peace. Well, fair.
Who doesn't want that?
Fair
Exactly.
integrity.
Right.
Well, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
But other than that, no, vote. I wish some of these people would spend as much time getting other people to vote as they do Googling conspiracy theories.
There are a lot of people who have a lot more time on their hands in our community, whether it's rural Nevada or somewhere in the state, and they can spend a lot of time, as you said, researching conspiracy theories, but then they come and they represent us in these issues. And we see them basically hijack on behalf of hardworking people who are parenting and they have jobs, and that's why we elect you to represent us, right, John?
Well, that's the theory.
Right. So if a county commissioner entertains a group, which is a minority group, well, okay, I think we should do hand count the ballots. And then the rest of the county says, when did that happen? Who thought that was a good idea?
So, yes, exactly what you're saying. I don't think everybody should be as involved as I am. I have a passion for it, and that's just my quirk, I guess. I hope it's a positive, but please be at least a little bit informed of what's going on, who the candidates are, and what are the true issues. And once again, world peace.
John Karr, County Commissioner. Becky Plunkett. Thank you, Becky, for being on the program today.
Thank you.